Well, the man accused of fatally shooting Charlie Kirk confessed to killing the right-wing activist in a message to his roommate. Prosecutors have alleged, as they announced 7 charges against him. Tyler Robinson, 22, left a note on the keyboard for his roommate to discover, said Utah County Attorney Jeffrey Gray. He added that the roommate was the defendant's romantic partner. Well, according to Gray, the note said, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I am going to take it," end quote. Well, the prosecutor also shared text messages between the roommates, including one in which the defendant allegedly said he shot Kirk because he had enough of his hatred. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson made an initial court appearance afternoon via video feed from jail, unshaven and wearing what appeared to be a protective vest.
Mr. Robinson, for count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life.
All right, and to discuss this in detail, I have joining me on the line from Detroit, spokesman for Republicans overseas, Errol Morkoc. Errol, glad to have you join me on The World.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, prosecutors will be filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. Are they likely to get it? What are you gleaning from all that's been happening?
Yes, in this case, there's no doubt they will seek the death penalty. Utah is a death penalty state in the United States. It's up to the individual states whether they want to allow it in a state case. If the federal government takes over the case, there is the federal death penalty. In this situation, Utah is a very conservative, like by the traditional term, I mean conservative in terms of Mormon base of faith and in terms of Republican voter blocks. So it's in our interest, we can say, or in the interest of anybody who wants to see justice, to make sure that he's tried in the state of Utah. The governor in the state has already committed to try him for the death penalty. He's dead to rights guilty based on the evidence that we've all seen, unless, of course, there's some, amazing data we haven't seen, in which case he would be found guilty and put to death. However, that process will take 15 to 20 years with appeals. It's obviously not a quick process. It's something that's very serious and isn't taken lightly.
As yet, a clear motive has not been revealed or found, but there's something about the note he penned to his roommate. What are they looking at?
I think in my non-expert opinion, I'm not a lawyer, I just play one on TV, but it does seem like the motive was very clear, and the motive was to kill Charlie Kirk, a friend of mine, a man who he saw as a hateful person, a man who he misconstrued everything that he believed in and turned into sort of a evil person that he wanted to kill. The messages he wrote on those bullets were very politically motivated. Political violence obviously is the definition of terrorism, so we want to make sure that we have all the facts before we go there, but it definitely seems to be a politically motivated terrorist attack that ended Charlie Kirk's life. And I think the messages that he sent to his transsexual lover, telling him basically that he had committed this crime and that, to delete these messages and that he was sorry and that he hoped he could have kept it secret until he was an older man. I think all of these are so incriminating, along with the fact that in his text messages, he also described the engravings on the bullets that he had written. One of them being "catch fascist," a very typical term that they like to lob at people who are on the conservative side. They use the terminology to demonize and dehumanize them, and eventually it led to the death of a good man. And I think that the motive has been pretty clear, but it's going to have to come out in the court of law and with due process, and I think they'll make their case and win.
The next date of his trial will be on the 29th of September. And what I'm hearing is that then a lawyer will be drafted to represent him in court.
Yes, the court checked his finances and found him to be financially indigent, and so he will be receiving court-appointed counsel. And in this case, it'll be high profile, so obviously it'll be probably a team of counsel. And in these cases, obviously you want to give these defendants the best defense possible. That's part of our legal system in America. We're very proud of that. Every country obviously has this same, at least, ethos, but you want to make sure that the most heinous acts are defended vigorously. So when they're actually found and adjudicated guilty, there is no question that this was done with malice or done with a partisan hand. So yes, he will receive a sterling and fair defense that he deserves as a innocent until proven guilty citizen.
In his first appearance by video from the Utah jail, he was wearing an what is called an anti-suicide smock. That's how it's been described. Any particular reason for this appearance?
Well, I think the obvious fear that anybody has around this is that we have another situation like we had with Jeffrey Epstein or any of the high profile situations where somebody who should be put on trial, whose motives should be brought clear, who the public has an interest in the application of justice being put upon, committing suicide or being killed or assassinated before the trial. And I think in this case, the anti-suicide vest is appropriate. Obviously, he's facing not just, the death penalty in Utah, by the way, includes the firing squad by gun death. So it's not as though he's going to, not have moments of fear or recalcitrance, and we certainly would not want him to take his own life, especially if he's innocent. So we want to make sure we bring him to the courtroom intact, and the suicide vest is obviously a necessary part of that.
If I let you go, well, I was going to add, are you hearing anything from the parents who, of course, helped the authorities to get him in, his mother, his father, then his pastor? But the judge has also given an order for Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, to be given protective custody. Any reason why? Do they think an attempt will be made on her life?
I don't know the exact details of why. I remember seeing that and feeling that it was probably symbolic for her protection, and the idea that if any way he was to be released, or if there was some other co-conspirators, just to have it documented that she was protected. But I think that's more of a symbolic protection. I don't think that there's been any published threats that would have been relevant to that case there. However, the Kirk family obviously is very highly targeted, and when you have one attack, you have copycats, and that's why many politicians and many public speakers have all canceled and removed their events as they recalibrate security concerns. So obviously, Erica, as a grieving widow, would be a great target for a crazy madman. So anything to protect her and her lovely children is, of course, what we want.
Yeah, of course, officials, top officials, government officials in the United States are also afraid of their lives, and then, of course, the back and forth between the two opposing sides, all the talk that is going on. I'll leave it there. Errol Morkoc, thank you for your interesting views.
Thank you for having me.